the most challenging aspect of a battle is knowing when to admit defeat. The nation that has been vanquished is compelled to enter into a large number of agreements and make reparations. In addition to this, its visage is severely damaged. Because of this, no nation ever wishes to admit that it was defeated in a war. And Putin has never before come around to accepting it. But things are starting to turn around. Explosions kept going off on the bridges that the Russian force was using. Exciting new advancements have taken place in Ukraine. Russia lost 150,000 fighters. The Russian military has been losing ground significantly in Ukraine for a significant amount of time. The Russian force is experiencing significant casualties across all of the war's fronts. Since the beginning of the conflict, the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense estimates that more than 150,000 Russian soldiers have been murdered in the conflict. In addition, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of Russian fighters are currently being treated in hospitals for their wounds. This demonstrates how much of a loss the Russian army has suffered as a result of the conflict. The town of Bakhmut is one of the regions in which the Russian forces sustained the greatest number of casualties. The Russian army's strategy all along was to end this conflict by taking control of Kiev. Bakhmut was one of the cities that was traversed by the primary routes that led to Kiev. In order for the Russian forces to make progress toward Kiev, they needed to take Bakhmut. As a direct result of this, the conflict in this region became more intense. The Russian army dispatched the majority of its strongest battalions to this region. There is currently a political dilemma in Russia. On the other hand, the Ukrainian army was successful in neutralizing the majority of the Russian troops that were sent to this territory. After the Russian army was dealt a significant loss in this territory, there was a significant amount of debate all throughout the country. As a direct result of the failure of the Russian force to prevail in this region, the Russian commanders came under intense scrutiny. The Wagner organization has intervened, and they have dispatched their mercenaries to Bakhmut. However, the Ukrainian army also achieved a significant deal of success against them. A significant number of the Wagner Group's fighters were killed or wounded during the battle. Before entering this city, the soldiers belonging to the Wagner Group had not coordinated their movements with the Russian forces. This resulted in an escalation of the already fraught relationship between Wagner and the Kremlin. The triumph of the Ukrainian army has also contributed to the deterioration of the political situation in Russia. Wagner was unable to take control of the port of Bakhmut. Wagner warriors are spreading propaganda as if the city of Bakhmut has already been taken over by them. The Ukrainian army does not try to conceal the fact that the current situation is dire. However, the situation is not as dire as real Wagner soldiers claim it is. After several months of trying, the Russian force has been unable to make any headway within the city of Bakhmut. Following this, Putin dispatched soldiers from the Wagner to the city. These warriors were successful by employing harsh tactics in their work. They surrounded the city and immediately started to occupy the streets once they got inside. However, the Ukrainian army quickly responded by deploying additional troops to the area. Bombs are dropped on Russian soldiers stationed in the region by unmanned aerial vehicle troops using unmanned aerial vehicles. Because of this, it is impossible for Russian soldiers to remain in their positions indefinitely. Important choice on the part of the Ukrainian forces. Yevgeny Prigozhin, Wagner's superior, declared that they held the upper hand in the city and that Bakhmut would be overthrown in the near future. Following this, the Ukrainian army dispatched a significant number of additional troops and vehicles to the area in question. It is estimated that there are 10,000 individuals living in the region, which makes up one Wagner unit. This figure rises to 20,000 when Chechen soldiers loyal to Kadyrov are included in the calculation. If the Ukrainian army is successful in neutralizing these Russian soldiers in a brief period of time, Russia will suffer a significant loss. On the other side, Wagner and Russia will cause the crisis within the Russian army to escalate even further. The front lines of the conflict have shifted into Russian territory. It is equally as essential to have the support of the people as it is to have a strong army in order to emerge victorious from battle. The reason for this is that the citizens of a country make up its armed forces. The Russian invaders are defeated in the conflict between Russia and Ukraine due to the favorable relationship that exists between the Ukrainian army and the people. An occurrence that took place not too long ago served as further evidence of this point. Bryansk was the site of a historic operation that was carried out by a sabotage squad comprised of Ukrainian volunteers. Sushany and Lubekane in Bryansk, Russia were decorated with Ukrainian banners by the terrorist organization. Following the completion of this operation, the president declared a state of emergency. A significant uprising has started in Russia. The objective is to drive the Russian fighters further back. The possibility that the conflict between Russia and Ukraine could extend to Russia's borders has been discussed for a considerable amount of time. This is due to the fact that the Russian armed forces are experiencing a daily shortage of both personnel and equipment. As a result of this circumstance, Ukraine suffers a setback, and occupying forces withdraw from some of their territory. Not only is the Ukrainian army, which has been strengthened with the assistance of Western and European countries, driving the Russian invaders back from Ukrainian territory, but it is also targeting military outposts that the Russian invaders have established along the boundary with Ukraine. Putin was well aware that this day would arrive. The current leader of Russia, Vladimir Putin, has acknowledged that the conflict could break out in Russia at any moment over the past few months. To the point where the Russian military felt it necessary to install anti-aircraft systems on the rooftops of government structures throughout the streets of Moscow, Russia's capital city. What Putin dreaded would happen to him actually occurred. Moscow is now a part of the conflict. The towns of Sushany and Lubekane both have Ukrainian flags fluttering proudly in their towns. In addition, the Ukrainian military did not play a role in the breaching of Russia's borders. Rather, the successful operation of sabotage organizations comprised of volunteer citizens of Ukraine played that role. Let's discuss the recent events that have taken place in Sushany and Lubekane together. Since the beginning of the conflict between Ukraine and Russia, Ukrainian sabotage organizations have been very successful in carrying out their activities. These activities did not only consist of driving the invaders back from Ukrainian territory, however. Beyond the borders of Ukraine, it is believed that sabotage groups are responsible for many of the activities that took place in Russia. Lies told by Putin. These saboteur groups are classified as terrorism organizations in Russia. Putin stated that saboteurs were responsible for the attacks and deaths of residents in Russia. These accusations are not true, according to the Ukrainian government. Everyone in the world believes that Putin's statement was made with the intention of smearing Ukraine's reputation. On the other side, terrorist organizations are carrying out attacks on oil and gas infrastructure in Russia. The Ukrainian military receives intelligence from groups that are responsible for causing millions of dollars worth of damage to Russia. Putin is focused on other matters while the Russian people are being slaughtered. It has been asserted that Russian President Vladimir Putin, who has been the subject of criticism due to his occupation of Ukraine for more than a year, spent a fortune on his secret lover, former Olympic athlete Alina Kabayeva, for a number of years. This criticism has been brought about as a result of the fact that Ukraine has been under his control for more than a year. Putin is said to have purchased Russia's largest house for Kabayeva, who is said to be the mother of at least 3 children, in accordance with the news that was published in the British newspaper The Times, which is based on the opposition Project website, which is banned in Russia. The website is located in the United States. It is rumored that the wooden house located on the outskirts of the city is one of the many properties that the former gymnast covertly owns. It has been brought to people's attention that the house, which was specifically constructed for Kabayeva, features a plethora of playgrounds for children. It is said that Putin, now 70 years old, has been in a relationship with Kabayeva, who is 39 years old and known as Russia's uncrowned queen, since the early 2000s, when Putin was still married. Kabayeva is characterized as Russia's uncrowned queen. In 2014, Putin's separation from his wife of 30 years, Lyudmila, was officially acknowledged by the government. Putin's highest secret bunker. According to the report that was created by Project, Vladimir Putin spent millions of pounds on his illicit lover, who he never revealed to anyone. Some of these funds were acquired illegally. One of the residences that the leader of Russia purchased for his paramour is a house in Sochi that is 2,600 square meters in size. In addition to its 20 bedrooms, the house also features unique areas such as a cinema, a swimming pool, a helipad, and a spa. It is registered in the name of Oleg Rudnov, a close associate of Vladimir Putin. £10 million wealth. Other real estate pertaining to Putin's girlfriend is registered in the name of Anna Zatsipalina, Kabayeva's grandmother, as well as in the names of other relatives. The value of the properties that are officially registered on Zatsipalina is £10 million. The project also claimed that Putin's preferred refuge, a villa located on the shore of Lake Valdai, is protected by an air defense system that was installed by the Ministry of Defense. It is said that Putin traveled to this house in an armored train that departed from a hidden railway station on its way to this residence. Prior to his imprisonment in Russia, opposition leader Alexei Navalny had published photographs of residences that were rumored to belong to Vladimir Putin. Navalny is currently behind bars. It was asserted that these properties were acquired using resources belonging to the state. About this event, people from all over the globe are talking. Following the publication of graphic footage online, Ukraine has pledged to locate the Russian soldiers who are responsible for the apparent killing of an unarmed Ukrainian prisoner of war. Late in the day on Monday, President Volodymyr Zelensky made the statement, "We will locate the murderers." The Ukrainian soldier can be seen in the footage smoking a cigarette while he is stationed in a trench. Before he is shot multiple times with automatic weaponry, he shouts "Glory to Ukraine." He was identified as Timofey Shadura on Tuesday by the Ukrainian Armed Forces. Shadura had been reported missing on February 3rd. According to the 30th Separate Mechanized Brigade, he was last seen close to the city of Bakhmut, which is located in the east and has been the site of intense conflict in recent months. According to the statement, which cited preliminary information, the corpse of one of our servicemen was found currently in the territory that was temporarily occupied. It was mentioned that the identification process could be finished after the corpse was brought back. Before the identity of the soldier was revealed, Mr. Shadura's sister stated, "My brother would most definitely be capable of standing up to the Russians in such a manner. In his entire existence, he never once concealed the truth, and he would never do so in the presence of his adversary." After the prisoner of war, Pau, is shot dead, one of the shooters, believed to be a Russian soldier, can be heard on the video stating "die" and using an expletive. This can be heard in the footage. It has not been determined who the purported murderer or killers are, despite the fact that they are not seen in the clip. On Monday, it was first brought to light on social media. Since President Vladimir Putin began his full-scale invasion of Ukraine on February 24, 2022, the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv and its Western allies have accused Russian forces of committing mass atrocities during the conflict. Russia has stated that these accusations are false. There has been a start to the migration to Argentina. It was reported that since the Russian occupation of Ukraine, thousands of pregnant Russian women have immigrated to Argentina in the goal of beginning a new life in a different country and have given birth there. According to the figures provided by the Argentine government regarding immigration, more than 22,000 Russians, the majority of whom came from the middle class and the upper class, have traveled thousands of kilometers away from their homes in order to begin a new life in Argentina since January 2022. Officials in Argentina have stated that there has been an increase in the number of women giving birth in the country. This results in instant citizenship for newborns, while their parents are granted temporary residence and employment permits.